Bucks County, Pennsylvania, long known for its bucolic beauty and rich history. It is here that General George Washington made his famous crossing of the Delaware in 1776. Visitors flock to this area, about an hour's drive northeast of Philadelphia, for the beautiful scenery, excellent restaurants, and shopping. If you spend more than just a day trip, there are close to 100 beautiful inns and bed and breakfasts for a weary traveler to enjoy a peaceful night's rest.
I said to them, was it a woman's voice or a man's voice? They said they couldn't tell, but it was very definite. Turn it off now. And then she felt the pressure on her arm.
And Mother's Day, there was a bartender in the bar itself making drinks, and he noticed some woman was sitting at a table directly across from him, and this woman kept staring at him, and he got to the point where he thought that there might have been a problem, so he asked her if he could assist her with anything. And she said, "No, but there's somebody in the bar with you."
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I don't think anyone can look at that piece of tape and question that something is there. You may not be able to make the form out properly. People might have different interpretations of what that is. But there's definitely something there.
Ashmill Farm in bucolic Hollycong, Pennsylvania, is the epitome of the genteel farm. Even the spirits here seem as laid back as the guests. Perhaps for the unseen guests, this indeed is their final resting place.
Well, we've got to have some men here. There's 3 women. There's 3 females. I mean, they're not manifested in materialization, but yeah, I can feel the female essence that they had in their
Well, this is probably where they spend a
last
lot of
life.
time if it's good
Yeah.
that far, because
It's like a little welcoming committee. Oh. Richard, what are you doing? Oh my. Richard, he's standing there.
And we're shooting a picture of him on camera.
She'll tell me.
right.
See the blue?
Yeah.
That's her soul. She is what I would call the head female. Here you go. The head female. No, I don't want to say that.
This is the mother.
Yeah, that's her.
Mm-hmm.
That's her.
She's following you around.
Yeah,
On tour.
let them see her too. You'll love this. It's the lady. You'll see. You'll recognize her.
Oh my goodness. And the other.
Now see how nice and solid she is.
Well, good. Well, why don't we let her give you the tour?
I'll tell you something. I'll tell you a secret in case any guests ever ask you. No spirit will go into a bathroom.
Why is that?
I know this, but there's so many people that ask me this question, so I figure, and since you have guests here and everything, they afford all of us, we the living, privacy, absolutely. And they know when you are either requiring it or wishing it, you know. But I've had so many people say, when I go in the bathroom, I said, no, they don't go in. They might sit outside of the door and wait for you, but they're not going to come in. They couldn't care less. I see my parents, I see my grandparents, I see so many of my relatives. I see my cousin and his wife who crossed over very young. I don't like to say died because we don't die.
No.
The body expires. It's like your like a winter coat. What do you do when you have a winter coat and it starts to get a little? You love it and you hate to part with it, but you really don't want to wear it. You know, ooh, I can't fix that. So you get another one. Well, hey, you know, we shed our mortal body and we move on into this incredible life. You're given the option, usually, to return in spirit form or another mortal form. Please, no more mortal form. Please.
The Ottsville Inn in Ottsville, Pennsylvania has been a local haunt for more than a century. Here, serving spirits takes on a whole new meaning.
You see, we could help ourselves to beer for breakfast, right?
Oh, stop. We're being served spirits. Catherine. Come meet Catherine. Richard. Oh, how nice. Hurry up. What are you doing down here? Rich? Shoot down here. You got some shy ones here. Come on up here. Come on up in the nice part. Come up in the dining room. They're hanging down here by the coats. Come
I don't know what that is.
Let me see.
I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's... Is it the doorknob?
Yeah, there's somebody up there, though. That's who I wanted you to... There's Henrietta. I'll tell you about the world today. You sit here. You sit there. Come on, everybody. Sit here. Come on. Sit there. Come on. There you go. I hope you're taking pictures of my friends in this chair, Richard. Stand back here. Okay? Stand back so you don't want to get close up and scare him to death. Oh, I don't mean scare him to death. That's stupid. Excuse me. Oh, Rob, look how beautiful he is. He's beautiful. Thank you. I love you for that. I love you for that. Oh, God, look what he did. Oh, he's an old soul, Rob. Look, he's beautiful gold. Oh, that was so beautiful of you to do that. Thank you. I've got the good chills. Mm-hmm. There's quite a few right outside the men's room.
The Bucksville House in Kintnersville, Pennsylvania, is a beautifully restored colonial-era inn, where after a peaceful night's rest, you may be awakened by its former colonial-era maids, still tidying up after 3 centuries.
Some guests do ask if the house is haunted, and our policy is not to say anything, particularly if people might be fearful. So we never initiate that question, or we never say, oh, do you know we have ghosts in the house? Our first experience, when we were renovating, we had a checkerboard up in one of the bedrooms. And being busy and not taking time, when I dusted, I never set them back up for a game. And I would go by and they would be set up for a game. And I thought, well, you know, this is at a time when no one was in the house. We weren't booking rooms. And I said to my husband, I said, how do you have time to go back upstairs and set the checkers up for a game? He said, you know, I'm not up there. I'm not doing that. And this was one of the first inklings that I knew we weren't alone here.
Are they the original steps? Oh. Hello? Come on down. Come on down. We're here.
Kathy's approach in the house right away was almost like a reverence. She, as some of the people that have come through and are interested in it are more, I would say, curious, not as respectful. And I think if I could describe Kathy in one word, it would be respectful of the dead. And throughout our experience with her in the house, she was very courteous. I would say almost thankful that they were there. She appreciated what they were doing. She said that she loved the spirits. And you could get a whole feeling of spirituality with her. And I think she approaches it from that these are real people. They're just maybe on a different plane that we're used to seeing. But she had almost a calming influence. And I think that's probably one of her assets. And I think they feel it because they present themselves to her because of her reverence and respect for them, which I don't think a lot of people have. I think a lot of people see the spirit world as something silly or something to be exposed as a hoax, and you don't get that feeling with her.
What is your name? Teresa. Teresa, that's what I thought it was. Was there a Teresa in the original family? Tell me how you came here. You lived here. Okay. You see her, Rob? Right here. Kind of just centered right in that corner, but she's darting back and forth. Come on, everybody. Everybody. All together.
We had a guest early in December that had never been in a bed and breakfast before, and she and her husband were in the room at the top of the stairs to the left, and he was a smoker, so he woke her up early on a Saturday morning to go outside to have a cigarette. And she said, I'm just going to lay in bed a little bit longer and relax. So he left the room, and she was in there probably trying to go back to sleep when two ladies came in the room, and they said, we're here to tidy up. And having never been in a bed and breakfast before, she didn't realize that that's not what we do. And she thought, my goodness, they're in here cleaning up, and I'm not even out of bed yet. And she was a little bit upset because she said her suitcase was open, the clothes were strewn around. And she said the one lady walked around to the foot of the bed over to the windows where we have a quilt rack. And she started adjusting the quilts and straightening out the bedding on the quilt rack. And the second lady started tugging on her bedding and straightening out the covers while she was in the bed. And she was a little bit anxious and again upset that we would send somebody in already to clean up the room. And she also noticed that they were wearing colonial clothes. She said, my goodness, she said they've even dressed the help in colonial clothes, and described the one lady as wearing a dust ruffle hat, possibly white like a handkerchief, and long skirt and almost like a homespun material. Recently we took a picture of Joe doing some renovation and building in a room, and we got almost like a mist or kind of a cloud behind him, like someone was actually standing behind him during the renovation. We have a picture of that. And recently, after Kathy was here, she had said that almost anyone can take a picture. So I went back in my photo album specifically looking for some things that maybe I had missed before, and found in the living room a face of a man, very distinct, looks like he has a beard. And the day that Kathy had come here, we had seen a similar face in one of the bedrooms. So I said, well, there's the same guy.
It's a man with gray hair, very pale blue eyes, full beard. If you just focus on that picture, or that, I imagine it's a document of some kind, but it's a man, and he's an elderly man. As he was in life, you're seeing him, he's got like a grayish silver beard, real pale blue eyes, okay? And his ears are kind of like this.
When I taught school, I had two sisters that helped me clean, and so they were here when I was at work. But there was one in particular day that they waited for me to come home from school. They were agitated and nervous, and I said, "What's going on?" They said, "Oh, something happened in the attic today." And I said, "What?" And they said, "Well, we're not going up there alone again." And I said, "Well, tell me what happened." The one sister had gone up to vacuum, and she's vacuuming in the attic. A voice says to her, turn it off now," and she feels a pressure on her arm. Thinking it's her sister, she turns. She said, "Why do you want me to?" And there's no one there. So she calls. She said, "Why do you want me?" She's calling down the stairs now. "Why do you want me to turn off the vacuum?" Well, the sister cannot hear her because she's 2 flights down in the kitchen getting cleaning supplies out. So she runs down and she says to her sister, "Why did you want me to turn the vacuum off?" She said, "I don't know what you're talking about." She said, "I've been here getting cleaning tools." She said, "Well, somebody up there told me to turn the vacuum off." And so they went up there and no one was there. And from that point on, when they would clean, they cleaned together, especially in the attic. And when I got home that day, they were totally freaked out and agitated with that particular story. They were scared. They don't work here anymore.
Located in the tiny town of Centerbridge, the Centerbridge Inn has mysteriously burned to the ground twice in its history. Here, blenders turn on by themselves. Curtains rise up and remain perfectly straight. Some reveling patrons have rolled beer bottles down the bar, only to have them roll back.
Everybody. Oh, I bet you all like it up here, huh? This is nice. Philippe, monsieur. All I can say is Nescafe and Santa Flush. That's all I can say. I don't know how to speak your language. Come on. All right, come on, you guys. You and your wife. Oh, that thing hurt. That backpack hit me right in the spine. It's a beautiful blue spirit soul. Spirit soul. They're making me talk crazy. Well, where is your wife? Oh. On the shade. On the wood. Come back on the shade. Back on the shade. 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 Up, 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 up.
From outdoors.
I think it's individual room control. That's why it's so hot up here. We should put it on in one room. Can you see what that says? What does it say?
Honeywell.
Rebecca. Rebecca, Rebecca, Rebecca. Please show up, Rebecca. Don't make a goof out of me, please. And who's those 2 people with you? Rebecca. Rebecca. Coriel. This is sweet, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sweet.
I don't mean S-U-I-T-E. Oh, somebody left TV on. Oh. What did you do? She said the TV was on. I saw the red light, so I turned it off. It was turned on. Okay, come on, Rebecca. Come on with us. Come on, we're going to party downstairs. You and me will be the only broads there. How about that? Oh. Oh. Oh.
You get all this on the outtakes, right?
Jeez. Oh my, how embarrassing. Domino effect of klutz. See, it's not just me. Now you've both Rob got a concussion in that other bedroom. You have klutzed in a couple places. Over in the bird cage. Well, it's not a bird bath. Come. Aye, bats.
Might be.
Of course, this is a new attic. You know what I'm saying? They don't care. I mean, you know, an attic is an attic. It's the same ground, but it still doesn't have the history, the ambiance that, of course, the original would have.
Well, if we fall through the floor, someone's going to have to call it ambiance.
Oh, and it's pretty. Oh, come on, let's go. Oh, did they desert you? Well, I tell you what, come in here. We'll go join them. Simple as that. Come on. Everybody, come on. And how are you today? See?
Just north of New Hope, perched on the edge of the Delaware River, is the Black Bass Hotel. The tavern has served patrons since 1740. It appears that many spirits here have stayed well after closing time.
We don't actually advertise that we have ghosts. Some people do inquire about that if the hotel is haunted, especially when people find out that we have been an operational hotel and restaurant for over 250 years. So a lot of people are curious as if we have any good stories. Over the years, I've heard many stories about sightings in the bar area itself, and it only seems to revolve around children, young children. And I've heard this happen back, as was actually mentioned, from the 70s up to the present day. But one curious time it actually happened where I was part of it, where I was in my office, and there was a group of people that were staying in the hotel, and they're standing outside my door, and they're all talking about which room they were in and what ghost was in their room. And one of the young children came up to the mother that was just stopped by to visit with the family. And the young child mentioned that he was in the bar and he saw a gentleman down at the bar that really didn't understand what he was doing there. So as I was listening to this, I walked out and I joined in a conversation, and I mentioned that they met Hans. And as it goes, it's only young children that witness this person in the bar, and it winds up being a large burly guy. He has a long beard. He has a hat with a feather in it, and he has a military insignia on his shoulder. And over the years, all the children that mention this person that they see at the bar, they always describe him being at the exact same spot, the exact same appearance, and it's only small children that mention him.
Company behind me.
As the story goes, as far as I could ascertain, two guests witnessed somebody in the middle of the night with a woman wearing a white dress with a pearl-handled pistol that was standing by the foot of the bed. A few years later as well, it was brought up again by some other guests that they mentioned that they had a visitor in the evening, and they described the same type of person. That it was a woman in a white dress, a white flowing dress, and she had a pearl-handled pistol as well.
Oh my.
This was something that was mentioned to me that happened back in the 60s. There was a full dining room at that point. There was probably about 25 persons in there, and right on top of the hearth there was a candelabra that was lit, that was just burning right above the fireplace. At one point, somebody gasped in the middle of the dining room, loud enough that everybody focused on the fireplace. And when everybody looked, the candelabra was moving, and it actually moved off of the fireplace and fell onto the floor.
You can't stay here. You have to go into the light. That's part of your destiny. No. No, you're not supposed to stay here. You're not needed here. No, you have to go into the light. Okay? Any of you who haven't been into the light, you must go into that light. That's your destiny. Well, you both have to go. There were two, I guess you'd call them like roguish pirates in here who hadn't fully crossed over. You know, the entire crossing over process. They didn't go into the light. So they didn't have access to light. So when I put my hand on the wall, I invited them to use my life force and to go through me, use my life force. And that always has worked.
Mother's Day, there was a bartender in the bar itself making drinks, and he noticed some woman was sitting at a table directly across from him, and this woman kept staring at him, and he got to the point where he thought that there might have been a problem, so he asked her if he could assist her with anything, and she said, "No, but there's somebody in the bar with you." And she was my server was so taken back that he inquired more about it. He said, "Well, what do you mean there's somebody in the bar with me?" At this point, the husband turned around and looked at the server and turned back around to the wife, and the server could tell that they were not joking around, that she was actually seeing somebody. And she said that there's a woman right next to you, and she keeps walking through the bar over to the fireplace and back to the bar again. And she looks like she's distraught, and she doesn't want to be here, but she just keeps pacing back and forth between the fireplace back into the bar where you're standing. Needless to say, the bartender didn't spend much more time that evening in the bar.
One of the first and largest bed and breakfasts in New Hope is the Wedgwood Inn. It sits on the same grounds where General George Washington and his men camped before the famous crossing of the Delaware in 1776. In the 1800s, slaves are said to have passed through to freedom in its mysterious underground tunnel. Could it be that some still remain?
Unusual activity occurs throughout. There are a couple of specific bedrooms that have a little more activity because they're near the Underground Railroad or they're near the secret entrance to it. Sarah has only revealed herself 3 times since 1982, and only to other 12-year-old girls, and only to other 12-year-old girls in this particular room, because this is the room that is above that secret staircase. And Mr. Black in the 1830s and 1840s was the was the foreman of the mills in town, and he evidently had some kind of industrial accident, and he limped. So we sometimes hear him dragging his foot across the floor at night, and he often carries a lantern. So under a closed door you'll see a light swaying, and Mr. Black is kind of checking that everybody's in and okay. And he has held the door on me on several occasions, and I just have to ask Mr. Black to please let me out, and he listens. I think one of the most interesting sightings we have is a historical character in New Hope, the painter of Manchester Valley. His name is Joseph Pickett, and he was a self-taught artist who was a butcher in town at the turn of the 1900th century, and he evidently painted Manchester Valley, which depicts the mill behind our inn, the one that Mr. Black was the foreman for, and it depicts the schoolhouse on top of the hill, which is an 1840 schoolhouse. It turns out that he painted that picture from our property, from the backyard of our property. Other guests have seen him, and we have seen him actually painting. We remember a month after purchasing that in 1986, someone said, "How did you hang that print so quickly?" Because we just saw the fellow painting it. We said, "No, this is just simply a print, not a painting." And that was the first sighting of Joseph Pickett, wearing a black coat with his painter's palette and easel, actually painting the colorful scene that we know today. And he has, evidently, is a rather active spirit on Mechanic Street in New Hope. And evidently the placing of a gazebo in 1985 on probably about the exact spot where he painted has brought the spirit up this way where never before he has evidently come. And he's one of our more colorful characters, and a lot of people enjoy talking to him and later learning that he doesn't really exist. Well, having lived here over 20 years, we thought we knew everything about the house. Its pre-Revolutionary War history, and some of its spirits. But when we knocked down a rear addition and we built a new addition with a deep basement, we discovered an underground railway passage, or tunnel, that we later learned was used both by the Revolutionary War soldiers who camped here, and later by the abolitionists who lived in the house, the Quakers, who in the 1840s, 1850s, and 1860s participated in the Underground Railroad, which brought newly freed slaves up from the South to the safety of New York and Canada.
Well, I tell you one thing, this is really intense. That's my favorite word. It's very intense.
You see it at the bottom of the gate? Mm-hmm. Also, there's some in the background that are very faint. No, you really got them kicking up over there in that corner.
I know. They're trying to tell me something. 1858. Jesus' name. Bear with me. Okay. I gotta do this first. All right. Get your cameras ready. With your ashes, my soul with your soul. This wasn't a tunnel. There were piles of bodies here. (1858). I don't know how that's got anything to do with anything. 1858. Come on. You over there. Come on now. Don't you be a scaredy cat. Come on. Come on. Go now. Go now. And everyone you knew in life.
You're not going to believe the
Go. Shh.
someone like to discharge.
Go through me. Go through me right now. Go on, it's okay. Go on, it's all right. One at a time, one at a time. One at a time. It's okay. Don't be afraid. Go on. I love you. I love you too.
one of the 5 oldest continually operating inns in the United States, the Logan Inn opened in 1722. Leading psychics and mediums have proclaimed it to be one of the most authentically haunted buildings in America.
There have been 5 psychics through, the most believable being Hans Holzer, who's written books on the subject. And he brought a medium with him, and we didn't discuss where and what had happened in the inn. They went into different rooms, and when they went into room 6, immediately they said they felt pressure, as though someone was either pushing them out of the room or the pressure of someone being underwater. And the other thing that they both concurred upon was that it was the spirit of a woman who lived and perhaps died there.
I love you, Emily. I'm back. I missed you all so much. I really, really missed you.
Oh, there was a big one.
I had a writer in from Ohio the week before Halloween, and she totally believes in the spirits. And she said she was doing an article for a paper, and she said when she left, some very unusual things had occurred. She said she woke because she felt someone had sat on the end of the bed. And we have these big puffed up down quilts on the bed. This happens to be a Victorian bed. It's one of the original pieces in the inn. She turned on the light. No one was in the room, but she looked at the end of the bed, and there at the end of the bed there was an impression of someone who had sat on the end of the bed. There's a depression on the quilt.
Even they must have done the whole painting. It's so bright. And the sky. Honestly, it looks like they did the whole painting, didn't they? I gotta touch that. I'm gonna touch it. Oh, I'd love to touch your hand. I know it's just a portrait, but you're so beautiful.
The other person who had quite an unusual experience was a man that I hadn't met before. His name was Mr. Adams, and later I found out that he had written a book on the subject of hauntings of buildings within the area, the Logan being one of them. But when he left, he said he'd stayed in many inns in this country, in England, in Australia, but never had such an odd experience as he had at the inn. I said, whatever happened? Because I'd never really heard anything that was that extreme or dramatic. But he said in the middle of the night, someone knocked on his door, and he felt that the door had opened. Well, we have double locks on the door. There's no way, unless someone had a master key, that they would open a door. So he went to the door. The door at that point had closed. He went to the door, opened the door. There was no one in the hallway. I've had this happen many times. They always feel as though there's someone in the room watching them. And one time someone was in the bathroom, and she said someone was tapping her on the shoulder, and she turned around, no one was there, and I said, oh, there's a hook on the door, that's probably why you felt someone tapping you on the shoulder. She said, oh, not in that room, there isn't a hook on the door. They're just things that happen that you can't explain.
Pineapple Hill rests on land originally granted to William Penn. The inn has only changed hands 6 times in its history. Perhaps in a visit to the inn, you'll encounter one of its previous owners.
It was really interesting in preparing to talk to you. I reread all of the room diaries from 1995 through present, and realized that although there had been talking, people had written about unusual activity throughout, that it really started to get heavier in 1996, and we were thinking what happened, and then we realized that was when we did all the excavation work for the addition. So that maybe something, when we were doing the addition, stirred up all this extra activity, because it was almost right down to the few months that we were working on that all of a sudden we started to see all this proliferation in writing about activity here.
Martina. Come on out. Okay, who wants to come over here? We got a nice pretty lady in here. Oh, you're beautiful. Here. Hovering up off the bed. He's right behind me. John. John. You're giving me the goosebumps. You're tickling me. Oh, do you keep journals in the rooms? That is so great. That is really, really wise. Because anybody that stays in each room can write down any experience they have.
Oh, they write down everything.
Mm-hmm. And then you can have someone.
Pictures.
Then you can have someone compile all the, or you yourself could do it if you like. And have a nice book like every 6 months or whatever, every year.
I remember while serving breakfast at the inn, the first guests, was very vivid about telling me that they had had a really wild dream where there was a man riding horseback, and he was set more in, I don't want to say colonial garb, but he had on a long wool coat and yeah, kind of like what you would picture as your typical revolutionary garb. And the man was riding down a path, and there were cherry trees or fruit trees on either side. And the horse bucked up, and the man started to fall off, and she woke up like really almost in cold sweats and very freaked out about the whole thing. And she came down to breakfast and was telling everyone at breakfast. And then about 8 months later, the same thing happened again. And at that point, I came up, we have room diaries in each room, and I came up and read the room diary thinking, oh, well, somebody wrote it. The first woman had written it down, and then maybe the second woman was reading it right before she went to bed, and it made her dream it. But it wasn't listed anywhere in any of the room diaries in any of the rooms. And then it happened a third time, maybe about a year ago, so there was about 2 years in between, and then it happened again.
Oh, wow. You know, you can almost feel like when it was new.
Wait till you come to the barn. You can almost hear the noises of the animals. So they've still got the horse chains are up.
Oh, that's great. Rosalie, could you tell me your last name? Cross? Rosalie Cross. Rosalie Cross. Did your family live in the area? Salisbury. Salisbury? You're beautiful. You're all beautiful. But I don't know. I don't know what it is. You just never know when it's gonna come back. Try again. Rich. Do you have a film in? A disc?
Some people, there was a couple that came, and it was really recently. It was only a few months ago. A couple kept coming. They came, and I forget the word they were using. Nightmarish, maybe something that had me really upset. And then the one said, "Yeah," to the other one, "Yeah, this is really great. We were hoping it would be that way." And I realized they were looking for a really haunted experience, and they were pleased.
Ariana Miles, near Lake Nakamixon in Upper Bucks County, first opened as a rough and tumble stagecoach stop in the late 1700s. The current owners have brought back its rustic charm, along with several of its original Native American clientele.
This area of Bucks County, we were the perfect Bucks County tourists. All of Bucks County is defined by New Hope and Peddler's Village. So it was like, and Doylestown was sort of like this hike. So the idea of this area called Quakertown was like, where is this? But we thought, oh, let's go. So it just kept coming up during the course of probably 4 years.
Luckily for us, at a lower and lower price.
Yeah.
We're going upstairs.
Or do you want me to follow?
Yeah, I'll follow you.
Pascal was away. She was back in New York. She was still living in New York. We had just purchased the house, and I was home alone, and I spent a lot of time here on the first floor. It was one of the only inhabitable parts of the house at the time, and spent a lot of time in the bar. Right outside the bar is the sunroom, and I had seen an image, white flash by, and of course he wanted to play those tricks on you, and did a double take, and that the image was there again, just casually walking past, and just in vivid detail, a hoop skirt, blue ribbon around her waist, the puffs on the shoulders, all the way up to actual seeing her hair, the hair up in the back and everything like that, and never really made mention of it except to Pascal. And sometime after that, our neighbor, who we had just made acquaintance with at the time, said, "Have you seen her?" And I said, "Well, who is she?" And he went in to describe this woman that he has seen sitting on our bench near a large pine tree, and she would sit there and relax, I guess, and exact same details. And not too long after that, we were going through New Hope and stopped in an antique shop there and was speaking to the shop owner. She was questioning when we were opening the inn, and someone else had overheard us and said, "Well, you have a bed and breakfast?" And we said, "Yes, we do." And she said, "Do you have presents?" And Pascal and I looked at each other and were like, "Yes, we do." And that's when it turned out to be Adele Gamble, and she said, "She's with you," and went in to describe our lady in white in the exact same detail as I have seen and my friend had seen. So it was nice to know that she was traveling with us as well.
There's a man, I'd say, from 1890s with a derby materialized right in front of, right still looking out the window. There's a little girl in here.
We saw some apps. Some of the stuff was just indescribable. There were just light flashes and swirls that came up on the digital, and the one instance in particular, which I was using rationale at first. I had seen the spirit form, the orb, with the naked eye. I didn't see it on the camera, and kept it to myself at the moment. I was like, oh, I didn't see it. And then just at that moment, that's when Kathy turned around and said, every now and then you will see them in the flash of the camera. So I was like, I just did! It was kind of neat.
A lot of pets.
Children?
Yes. Back there.
What do you think?
Back there.
That's where I was.
Yeah, right back there in all that briar.
That's no trick.
Right, it's not. It's how do you there is a solid presence that moves. It's not a tree.
It wasn't just some ethereal glow.
It's not an animal. It's not. I mean, it's not solid enough to be something.
There's some serious definition there. I mean, muscularity, the whole bit. I'm sorry, that wasn't just power of suggestion that saw that. I mean,
something there.
What you are about to witness is perhaps the most amazing manifestation of the spirit ever recorded on video.
Is it a horse? Is it a donkey? Is it, just how do you just, you can't explain that.
it's a friend nonetheless.
You just, there's just no way to explain. I wish there was. I wish we could say that, oh, well, it was leaves rustling or something like that. Not that it makes me feel it makes me feel any better, or not that it makes me feel bad not to be able to explain it. I just think that there are so many people out there who just want to believe that there's got to be some other reason. That, it's kind of, I feel very special to have this, and glad that we're open to it. But I'm sure many people would think we're just a little bit kooky.
That happens anyway.
Yeah.